birds. Singing that fight song, E-A-G-L-E-S. We on, look. We from Philly. If you don't know, we run these streets the same way the birds run that NFC East. Giants is weak, Skins is trash. Cowboys every season whoop that ass. It ain't no competition, we here for those who listen. Want nothing but the facts, that ego coalition. We could give two fucks about your trash ass team. Our concern is about that black, that white, that midnight green. The feathers on the helmet, bruh, our hearts indebted. Fly Eagles fly, what it's about, bruh. I said it, look up.
But I just gotta know one thing. Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
What's up, Philadelphia? We are live broadcasting from Wildfire Sports Studios. Welcome to the 2018 4th and Jawn Eagles episode number 11. Boys and girls, we thank you for your moms of packing that lunch. We thank you for getting that permission slip signed and in on time. But the field trip has been canceled. Now, before I get into everything that we got to get into, I'm in a unique position here. It's the first time I've ever been in this position, being 10 years on social media, covering the team, talking about the team, sharing experiences, my experiences about the team. Because so often in those 10 years, I've been told three simple words: stick to sports. And the majority of the time, I've tried to adhere to that. Stick to sports. Because they always tell me, E-Rock, I'm not here to talk about your political views. I'm here to see your content and your comedic genius when it comes to football and dick jokes. Fine. That's perfectly fine. But today, I am in the unique position where football and politics go head to head. So Uncle E-Rock's going to sit on this microphone and talk his shit on his show, because I am sticking to sports in this particular instance. Let's make no bones about it, boys and girls, right from the get-go. President Trump declining to receive the Eagles at the White House has absolutely nothing to do with the flag. It has nothing to do with respecting the troops. It has nothing to do with respecting the country. Because if it did, he would get his facts straight and understand that not once during the 2018 regular season or postseason did the Eagles take a knee or not come out of the tunnel. He would understand that this team honors the troops every time they get the opportunity, whether it's at training camp, Military Appreciation Day, or the NFL's initiative to have that Military Appreciation Month. He would understand that individuals like Malcolm Jenkins, who have declined to take a knee, but rather sat side by side with community leaders and politicians and leaders in police enforcement to try to find real-life solutions to real-life problems. Whether it be Chris Long, who donated his year's worth of salary to benefit people that are less fortunate than him, a wealthy man giving away his year's worth of salary. He would understand those things, but as so often the case, this president will sit there and twist the facts and try to villainize people that shouldn't be villainized in order to fit his narrative and beat that drum, which goes to the lowest form of his base. That's what this president is trying to do, and that's exactly what this is about. Make no mistake about it, the Eagles were never going to the White House. Not out of choice. The president was going to decline it and use it as a political pawn to once again beat that drum. Gail, can I be honest with the people for a second?
Go ahead, man.
Can I be transparent with our listeners?
You can. You can say it with your chest.
Can I do what my father told me and to mean what I say and say what I mean and speak frankly to the listeners?
I think it's about time.
Yes, you did. Absolutely. When the kneeling first happened, I'll be honest with you guys, I didn't like it. I thought it was disrespectful. I thought it was disrespectful to the country. I thought it was disrespectful to the flag. I remember seeing an African-American couple when this first all came down, sitting in the row in front of me. And they were sitting. And it bothered me. Steam was coming out of my ears. I couldn't understand it because I wasn't raised like that. I was raised to stand up, salute the flag, respect the flag, believe in the American dream, but believe in it that it's all-inclusive, that the American dream does not just go for people of privilege, people of white people, that it is all-inclusive. It doesn't matter your race, your creed, your religion, your age, your gender, that this American dream applied to everybody. And while that might be a fantasy and that might be the case, I was still offended by it. But what I did is I reached out to my co-host, not only my co-host, but my best friend in the world, Mr. Gale Saunders, Eagle Sessions on Twitter, and I asked him why. Why is this happening? Explain to me. Help me understand why this is. I didn't sit there and just get into an anger ball and shut the world out and think that those people were the enemy. I wanted to understand better why. And he explained it to me. The purpose in which they were trying to communicate by kneeling, by taking that stand. The struggles that he's gone through as an African-American male. Some of them I found surprising, downright shocking at times, because I never looked at Gale as a brother. I looked at him as my brother, wearing the same colors, best friends. So he helped me understand exactly the reasoning why they were kneeling. And in doing so, we had an open dialogue. And wouldn't this country be better off if people from the opposite ends, whether you support the kneeling or you don't, whether you find the flag disrespectful or not, wouldn't it be better off if we had a mutual understanding? So while it might still bother me from time to time, I want you to know that I respect why you're doing it. I understand why you're doing it. And the message that you are trying to convey is coming through loud and clear. And that's the important. That's why President Trump canceled this visit, because he's pounding the drum. He does not want to see the biggest threat to anybody that leans too far left or too far right in his case, and that is balance. And that's exactly what the Philadelphia Eagles organization has been able to show throughout this entire process. Again, they're only one of a handful of teams out there that did not kneel for the national anthem. They have been a symbol of balance, being able to highlight the players' personal voices and allow them to express what is important to them, all the meanwhile not being disrespectful, doing it with class, because they're a class organization. And that type of balance will always be a threat to people who pound the drum for negativity and those who try to point the finger at good people and good organizations like the Philadelphia Eagles and people that are standing up for a change, whether you agree with it or not, whether you agree with the vessel in which they are doing it or not, trying to communicate that message and make the world a better place. And I, quite frankly, I know it's stick to sports, E-Rock, but this time sports and politics are going head to head. And I am not going to remain silent while the President of the United States tries using the flag that I love and the team that I love as a political pawn to go into his propaganda machine. And I don't think neither are you, Gale.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not buying it, but I am buying into these harsh realities that we all, back in years ago, a lot of things weren't being seen, and I think a lot of people, some white folks have not seen this kind of racism. Like there's a quote from Will Smith. He says, "Racism isn't getting worse; it's just getting filmed." And I think there was a microscope on what's going on in America, and these are harsh realities that you can either stay in the gray area and act like it doesn't exist, or you can be real about it and realize that this does exist. Me standing in front of you as one of your good friends, I've experienced tons of racial profiling. I've had guns held to my head by police officers. I've had M16s held at my face. I've got there's twice I got pulled over because they thought I was robbing my own house. And moments of your hands up in the air, not wanting to move, and thinking about this is going to be my last day on this earth for no fucking reason. You're looking at a guy who's never had a detention before. I've never been arrested. I've never got in trouble with the law. Always about positivity. But I can have this conversation with, I'd say 98% of my black friends or people of color, and they can tell me these same exact stories back to me. Like I'm giving them my story, they're hearing it all over again. So when you see people of color deal with it, a guy like Eric Garner, a Trayvon Martin, a Freddie Gray. I can name these names and the hair on my back stands up. When innocent people in America are getting killed, and nobody is saying a damn thing about it. You know, the Colin Kaepernick situation. I thought his message was, it got a little muddied with, when he, I was like, okay, they're gonna do this. It's a peaceful protest, but it got muddied along the way. But fuck it, nobody was standing up and doing anything. When is the right time? Mm-hmm. When is the right time to say something? I mean, you see signs when police put up and say, "Hey, if you see something, say something." Fuck, there are many people saying something right now, and nobody's listening. You talk about patriotism. My dad fought in the Korean War. He came back from the Korean War. He couldn't get an ice cream cone. They wouldn't serve my ice cream cone. So there's levels of, these stories that are passed on from your families to their kids of struggle with racial profiling. Me going into a store mm-hmm. to buy clothes and security's watching you. Mm-hmm. But it's a thing. These are just everyday things that people of color struggle with. And at the end of that, I didn't want to fucking come in here and talk about this. But this is an opportunity for us to talk and have dialogue. We all love the Eagles, and at the end of the day, it's about finding common ground with each other mm-hmm. and understanding people's backgrounds and how to communicate with each other, mm-hmm. but also opening your ears and let everybody have a voice. And I was fortunate. I was super at my job. Sometimes there's cool things that happen, and being able to sit and listen to Colin Kaepernick, not just for 5 minutes or being silent, sitting on a knee. I got to sit 5 feet away from him and listen to him talk about, his situation and with the NFL, and he made like I said, I told you, I said, he could have done it better, but the message got a little bit ugly, but someone had to say it. And he talked about, he said his girlfriend talked to him about how much money he left actually on the table. Everybody got a chuckle out of the crowd, and Sway was doing the interview with him. And he said, do you feel bad about leaving that money on the table? And he said, you know what? I could have $20 million in my pocket, or I can choose 40 million people. Is everybody worth 50 cents? Is everybody's life worth 50 cents? And for me, I was like, God damn, that is powerful. It's just like, that this is the reason why the league is 70% African American. What you're seeing, you're seeing African Americans try to go to work just like regular everyday Joes, like myself, go to work. When another black person gets killed in America, I don't have to look at you and say a word. I can see it in your eyes that you're traumatized, that you have some form of post-traumatic stress disorder, because you've been in that situation before, and you have to have these conversations with your brother or your son or your daughter, and you say, you know what? Every black man has this talk with their son. They say, you know what? Gail, when you're out in the street, just say yes. Yes, officer. They have to talk. This is a thing that happens in black households across America. Don't look suspicious. How do you not look suspicious? How do you have to tell your young kid, don't try and look suspicious? What is that?
Kids are suspicious. I mean, that's.
I mean, it's just. I'm not gonna keep on going and preaching about. I'm just giving you a magnifying glass into a guy that you know, a guy that you've seen at a tailgate, a guy that I've shared beers with, and if you can understand who I am, and I am the fucking average Joe. I am the average Joe. You know what I mean? Like, other people are going through worse situations, and this is just my struggle. And I'm telling you how many times I've been in horrible situations for no reason. But at the end of the day, we're all Eagle fans, right? And we're all family. And I think regardless of what side of the stand you stand on, politically wise, I feel like it's an opportunity to look for the good in people. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's what it is.
Instead of villainizing people and beating that drum, which is all too convenient to appeal to a base that really just has hateful intentions, wants to be dismissive of average guys going through a struggle like Gail. The purpose of this whole thing is to initiate a conversation. I can't speak on behalf of the community that takes a knee, but if I have the understanding correctly from a white guy's perspective, it's to open up a dialogue. You can be upset. You can be angry. We got your attention. Ask why. Ask why. Because through that conversation, you'll see guys like Gail, who, to me, colorblind. Mm-hmm. Anybody that's ever visited the tailgate will tell you, doesn't matter your age, doesn't matter your race, doesn't matter your gender, your religion, anything. As long as you're wearing these colors, you're family. So me taking a look at a guy like Gail, I see Gail every week. I talk to Gail every week. I didn't know he was going through the things that he went through. He was informing me about those conversations that black parents have to have with their kids. I'll never have to have those conversations with my children. But what I can do is the little part that makes the world a better place. What I can do is take that lesson and, albeit small, teach my children about the American dream and how that should be all-inclusive. That's not for the people sitting in here, although I am, a little tan, all right, from being out in the sun, done a little fishing. But that's not just for us. That's for everybody. And that's what this conversation is about. And that's why guys like President Trump canceled the visit. He had absolutely zero intention. How can you point the finger? How can Fox News point the finger and show video of Philadelphia Eagles players, both black and white, taking a knee in prayer? In prayer.
Zach Ertz.
And spin that to a hateful, look at these sons of bitches. Look at these animals disrespecting the flag. How stupid do you think we are? But believe it or not, a lot of the population out there, a lot of that base, believes that kind of shit.
One of those pictures was Jason Peters in the practice bubble. Like he was literally on the sideline of the practice bubble taking a breather after a play.
But people believe that shit. People believe that shit.
I think people, like self-awareness is so important. I feel like if you don't realize the space that you're in and what you're being shown, or you don't fact check or you don't do your own research, it's like And it's sad. Like, you know, our parents, you know, have grown. You know, they've grown up in their form of media where they were given all the information. They just sat down and they engulfed it. They watched the TV and that was it. That was real. Everything's real. You know, black people are frightening. They're all, you know, murderers, or like the stuff that you see on the news. It's like you have to be more than. And I'm talking about anything, whether it's political news that you're intaking, whether it's a story on the news. You can't believe everything that you're seeing. You have to be self-aware.
And this is why fake news has become such an issue, not only in media, but in social media as well, Facebook and stuff like that. Because there is a large percentage of the population that'll sit there, dial in Fox News, and watch that shit all day.
Oh, yeah.
And just be brainwashed. Because they grew up in a generation where you turn on the news and you're expected to trust the newscaster. You're expected to trust Jim Gardner. Fucking Sean Hannity is not Jim Gardner, right? These news stations now put their own political twist. There's people out there that will see a Facebook post and believe it. Believe that somebody standing
blatant
there,
Photoshop.
A blatant Photoshop. Believe that somebody standing there as a white person in line for Black Panther got beat up by a couple of black guys that said, this movie ain't for you, Whitey. There are people out there that will believe that. And that's why when President Trump cancels the visit on the Eagles, it's fake news. The accuser of fake news is perpetuating fake news. You have an organization that has not had a player take a knee. You have an organization that has found the balance of giving players voices while still respecting the flag and the troops and all that. Because that's important to this side, and this is important to this side, and let's have a dialogue about it. They're the only organization in the NFL that's capable of doing such a thing, the Philadelphia Eagles. But that doesn't sit well with the president because he wants to keep pounding that drum, accusing others of fake news, the mainstream media, all the meanwhile creating his own fake news to perpetuate the propaganda machine that got him elected into office to begin with. I'll be honest with you, part of me was kind of hoping that Chris Long would show up all friggin' fur-coated out and say the Iverson jersey, and that Jason Kelsey would come all Mummer's outfit, and they would just... we're
go
coming.
at it.
We're coming, and then just do what they got to do on stage. But I think the Eagles did a phenomenal job taking the high road, not really addressing it, but rather applauding the community that surrounds them and the community that they spend countless hours and tireless energy to help make the world a better place.
And at the end of the day, we got a Super Bowl ring because of team chemistry. But like sports sometimes emulates life, and chemistry with your brothers, no matter what their race, creed, or whatever religion they're or the God that they're praying to. You saw a team last year with chemistry, and it's, you know, I really applaud. You know, it makes me prouder. I mean, not that I could be any prouder of the Eagles after last year, but just their ability to take the high road. Their snarkiness on Twitter is dope too.
Yeah.
But I just think the way they're handling things and the way they're trying to bring people together, the way they're raising money for autism, the way Carson Wentz is doing things in Haiti, the way Malcolm Jenkins is riding in cars with police officers, talking about police reform, the way that Chris Long is donating his money and giving back to scholarships. I mean, it's great.